Well, I want to kind of go off of something that Steve, you've said in a couple different couple different questions about, things will change. There's going to be change from this, and I'm wondering what one of the changes will be regarding maybe vaccinations. Is there going to be some new sort of responsibility, personal responsibility, or some mandate, or something that says if and when a COVID-19 vaccine comes to be, do you have to get it? What about the flu? I mean, are these things going to be things now that we've lived through a pandemic in our generations? Will we be told you must get X, Y, Z?
Let me just clarify really quickly, because I am an absolute pro vaccinations, all the way. I just think in this situation, when there's a fear of the vaccination is coming quickly. If it does, it'll come quickly. We won't have time to see the long-term effects. And if it is mandatory, how do you feel about it? Should it be mandatory at this point? You, Steve, and Michelle, what is your thinking?
Yeah.
So I'm pro-vaccination. I get my flu shot every year, and I yell at everybody who's, oh, I don't get the flu, so I don't need it. I'm like, that's not how it works. So it's something that I think about. But should it be mandatory? What are the long-term effects? Chris, you also brought up who's gaining financially from that. Like, I don't know. That's why I put the question out there. I don't have an answer. I wondered more generally, will this finally make the anti-vaxxers who say we don't need these vaccines because of X, Y, and Z, now that there's a real pandemic in front of their faces, will this suddenly make them want to get vaccines? So I don't know.
All right, thank you. Mine is a family of teachers, and including my wife, who taught for 21 years. And as an example, I think that the vaccinations that are prescribed for children, let's say age 5, should be your ticket to a public education. No vax cards, no ticket, personally. And I think it starts at that point. I think your vaccination allowing you certain privileges, if not rights. We're going to get to the point where you'll need vaccinations just to enjoy rights that may be in your Constitution. But I don't have a problem with vaccinations.
Did it too, and it's good. I'm with Steve. To me, I'm not. So the key word that I think, Michelle, is mandate, and which there's some legal thing with that, but. I'm with Steve, man, you don't get your kids vaccinated, kids aren't vaccinated, they don't go to public school. I'm perfectly good with that. If your doctor's office doesn't have to see you, your dentist doesn't have to see you, no problem. But I have a question. So Meg, you're perfect, you're okay. I mean, and I respect that. So you're okay too if a public school district said your kids don't, I mean, you do get your, but if you did feel that
it should be the cost of entry, I think. Absolutely. Okay. I think it's like driving a car. You have to get car insurance and a driver's license. Okay. I completely agree with that. But if someone is willing to live somewhere in isolation to keep their choice, I would support that. I have no interest in forcing anything upon them. They just lose what the rest of us enjoy. I think that's a good follow-up. I've got a lot of strong opinions, actually. I do not believe it will change the anti-vaxxers. I do not agree with them. However, I absolutely believe I've got some rights over my own body, my children's bodies. The mandate is not okay with me. It takes away my autonomy over my body. I would choose to get the vaccine, but much the way I look at abortions and things, this is my right over my body. I feel very strongly about that. I think the anti-vaxxers do. I think they're wrong about a lot. But if we have a vaccine, that to me, the most useful place to send that vaccine is to the most vulnerable populations, not to me first. Anyways, so if we've got a way to protect the most vulnerable populations, the herd immunity becomes significantly less important. There will absolutely be elderly people who can't take the vaccine. And so those are the only people that you're giving me a vaccine to protect.
Religious or philosophical things. I don't care. None of that. Only if you have a legitimate medical immunosuppressed, reason to do it. That's a good reason. And then the herd immunity will help, hopefully take care of those folks. But man, if I ran for school board, that'd be my issue. Everybody gets vaccinated.
I think that the anti-vaxxers were only able to emerge because of how spoiled we've become by a lot of really good preventive medicine if you took advantage of it. I'm old enough to have had a friend when I was very young in Orange County, California, where nobody ever gets sick, with polio. And I remember lining up where the local Rotary, gave us our polio vaccines on sugar cubes.
Yes.
Bruce is probably younger than I am, but I remember that pretty clearly, and it's so there's a certain age where you just take, nothing for granted, I guess. And then when things are too good, then it's easy to take things for granted. And I think that as a country, that we allow different movements like that to emerge when things are too good. And
to make it mandatory under the circumstances, yes. This isn't a common cold, and it isn't the flu. This is something that is, deadliness is one thing. It's just how contagious it is. It's unbelievably contagious. And so my concern personally is that I can't get the flu shot.